at disability disclosure on application to LSE. So the problem is representation. We hypothesize that the university is already unknowingly meeting its goal of 4.9% representation of students with a disability, but the main barrier is not recruitment, but rather student disclosure. So our aim was to understand how asking a mandatory disability status question on application impacts student disclosure at LSE. So for those of you who aren't familiar, on application to LSE, for both undergraduates and postgraduates, they are required to answer a disability status question. Now they can answer with an I don't know or I don't want to say, but they're required to answer the question. So our research was a survey of 2,000 plus current disability and well-being services students and an analysis of 9 years of admissions data. Looking at the admissions data, and as you can see from this graph, this is the percent of all students with a disability in year one who did not declare it on application by year. So you can see early from 2011 to 2014, almost 80%, more than 80% of people didn't disclose their disability on application. From 2015 on, that number is significantly lower, but it's still almost half of people who at the end of year one had registered a disability did not declare it on application. And we find that this is actually most common or more likely to happen with students who have mental or multiple disabilities. So as you can see here, those with a mental health condition are the least likely to disclose their disability status on application, followed by multiple impairments. And those with social or communication impairments are the most likely to disclose them on application. So that was 9 years worth of data from admissions. So the conclusion that we kind of can come from this is that we miss disabled applicants. It's pretty clear that there are a non-zero number of people who are applying to the university who don't feel comfortable disclosing their, or don't disclose their disability status on application. So the question is, what could be explaining this, right? Students could develop a new disability while at LSE. We looked at the change rate from year one to year two, and that's relatively small, so we don't think that this is a big portion of people. Number two is students have no incentive to reveal disability on application, so they just wait until they get here. We'll go into these reasons with a little bit of our survey data in a second. Third is that students fear consequences for disclosure on application. And then fourth is students are unaware disability status could apply to them. So let's take a look. So the first one we already know is not necessarily a big contributing factor. So let's look at no incentive. So we asked 200 plus students, if you might need a reasonable adjustment or learning accommodations, when would you prefer to be asked about it? And only 14% of students would prefer to be asked on application to the university. So it's pretty clear here that students don't really want to be asked this question on application to LSE. And so it's definitely a contributing factor that students have no incentive to reveal disability. And so they wait until they've either accepted the offer or they've gotten on campus or they need help. Another one is a fear of consequences. So we asked, do you think that LSE takes the disability status question on application form into account when making admissions decisions? 36% of our respondents actually said that they thought they did, even though LSE says that they don't officially. 36% thought unofficially they probably take it into account, and most people thought not in the disabled students' favor either. So that was a really interesting finding. And just overall, we asked people to compare reasons why they potentially wouldn't disclose at LSE. You know, I think we could all sort of predict the top two. Number one is fear of stigmatization. Number two is avoid seeming weaker academically. Three is unaware that they qualify. So it's pretty clear from this survey data that there is evidence that students are not comfortable disclosing on application, and so therefore the application data that we do have may actually be misleading on how many people are with disabilities are applying to LSE. So what can we do about this? Oh, here's some quick qualitative data. So we asked for, you know, a fill in the blank. So qualitatively, why aren't people disclosing on application? And these are direct quotes. So in case we are discriminated against and not given an offer because we are too much to handle, or it can be embarrassing, even if it's made clear that it will not affect our application, it still feels very vulnerable and unsafe putting it on the application. So what can we do? Two recommendations. The first is to collect better data on disclosure. Right now, the student record only logs on application and then at April of every year. We would like for the student record to log the date and value for every change in disability status when applying or enrolled at LSE to help future research and to help really make sure that people are getting the service they need. The second is to experiment with the disclosure question on application. So it's clear that people are not really understanding that they are, you know, there's some portion of students who are either uncomfortable or afraid of disclosing their disability on application. And perhaps with adjustments in framing or adjustments in timing, that could improve reporting while still helping students or applicants feel comfortable talking about their disabilities as they apply.